Welcome back to Nobby on Cars. This is the Hyundai, or Hyundai, depending on where you're watching this, Ioniq 6. And this car is like what Tesla wished they'd made with the Model 3. And I don't want this to be a Tesla comparison bashing video, but I simply mean, look at the size of it, look at the interior of it, look at some of the high-speed charging capabilities that we'll get to a little bit later on. Aerodynamics, like it's 0.21 of a drag coefficient. Pixelated daytime running lights over the front. There's definitely angles. You look at this car and you think, has someone been down to Porsche for a little while? These 18-inch alloys have got reduced gaps in them between the arches to, again, minimise drag and help with efficiency. They've made this car as slippy as they can. The nose, again, it dips quite low down, exactly like a Model 3. There's also a frunk on board, much like the Ioniq 5. It's quite usable as well. You have bonnet struts that help just make things easy for you, and under here is where you can keep Type 2 cable if you wish, and there's good storage space down here. Okay, let's get into some numbers, right? So I'm reading some notes today because I've just picked up the car. So it's from €48,295. What do you think of the side of it? I mean, I know it's going to be perhaps a divisive car in terms of looks, but everywhere you look at it, you think they've made this to be as efficient as they can in the design. So there's two batteries. There's a 53 kilowatt hour battery that will give you up to 429 kilometer range. There's a 77 kilowatt hour battery, that's the long range, that will deliver 614 kilometers. The standard car is rear wheel drive. It's 150-ish brake horsepower. You do have the option, if you go for the larger battery, of getting an all-wheel drive version. That's about 325 brake horsepower. And then there's a rear-wheel drive version of the long-range battery, and that's just under 230 brake horsepower, so there's plenty of power options. This one has flush door handles in black. It's probably one of the colours you want. It mightn't show off every little aspect of it, but certainly the contrast of little grey bits here, inserts and grooves down here that again help with efficiency. The rear spoiler, well, that's been taken off a Porsche. I wish I could show you the detail on camera of this shark fin. It's actually translucent and you can see little connectors inside it. That's very cool, just nerdy cool. So this is a brake light. It does look like it could be a solar panel. And this groove, like it's Targa. It just reminds you of a Porsche. This red daytime rear running strip, you can turn on your main dipped headlights and that will come on during the day if you like. Low slung rear. More lights down here. This is where the reverse lights go, and Hyundai like putting reverse lights low down in cars for some reason. The Tucson is another example of that, or is that that's the indicator, and it's quite low down the bumper, and it's not always the easiest to see. So these are down here. You're fully guided by obviously 360 and all kinds of cameras. There's another camera here, and there's a button to release the boot. Now, with the design of the car, the mouth of the boot is not the largest. Not dissimilar again to a Model 3. A little bit of storage down here for things that feels a bit flimsy, that kind of matte part. There's a tyre mobility kit on board that'll hopefully get you out of trouble should you get into it. So not the biggest boot in the world, but it's like they've sacrificed that for more interior rear space in the back of the Ioniq 6 because they've achieved that. So again, just leave me your thoughts in the comments. What do you think? I have to say, in flesh and in black, I really like it. It looks very nice. So the charging port is on this side of the car. You can open that with a controller inside in the driver's area as well. You've got vehicle to load as standard. It's got an 11 kilowatt hour as standard. That'll take about 7 hours on full if you're using 11 kilowatts. You can use up to 350 kilowatt chargers. Circle K, come on, get the finger out and get them moving. That's on some of the higher spec cars. You can get to about 80% in 18 minutes if you're using one of them. That's very, very quick. If you're using 50 kilowatt hours, it's about 70 minutes to get to 80% on the larger battery. I like the connections here. They kind of feel solid and stuff like that. So I like that the port is here and it opens this way, so in theory getting to chargers shouldn't get in the way, the housing of the door. All right, so rear of the Ioniq, loads of floor space because it's a flat floor, ground up EV, 2 USB-C charging points here. There's an armrest. There is no access to the ski hatch. This doesn't have a glass roof. It's all very, very black and dark. There's no doubt. The windows are okay in terms of they're just about at the height that won't block kids being able to see out. But the main selling point is the amount of legroom and floor space back here. There's a little bit of storage nets, and you can adjust this seat from back here, which would potentially be accessible by kids when you're in the back here, and that might drive them mad, or maybe you'd be fine with that, but the person in the back can do this to you while you're driving. So that's worth bearing in mind. You can probably lock that because you can tweak just about everything in the settings. So back is all right for head height, not massive. I mean, the roof does impact. You can even see a little ridge in the between where there's more space cut out for the front passenger and driver, and it is quite black. It's quite claustrophobic in the back. Maybe brighter colour or glass roof, if that's even available, will brighten things up. Huge amount of stuff in here. So you can customise your buttons. That can mean whatever you want them to mean. By the way, there's a plug in the back of the car as well, which further helps vehicle to load and really, really helpful. So charging is like priority here. You've got USB-C under the armrest, 2 of them. USB here. When you're using the wireless pad to charge your phone or your device, a little orange LED display comes up here to show you how advanced the charge is without you having to actually pick up the phone and be distracted while you're driving, so it's clever. Climate control is kind of physical buttons because it's all there constantly on a screen. Cameras are great. There's tons and tons of quality resolution in these. This is obviously the higher spec 360 version of it, so you can see all your surroundings of the car in really great detail. It can park itself. You can connect it with the Hyundai app, and you can use a PIN code to lock the car. If you've forgotten to lock it, it'll send you a notification and say that you've left it unlocked, so you can do that. The steering wheel is the exact same as the Ioniq 5 from memory. You've got the little 4 dots instead of the Hyundai logo. Your drive mode is here. You can flick between them. You've got Eco, Normal and Sport. Sport will reduce the range a little bit. Physical buttons for radar, cruise and all those things. Paddles controlled by regen braking. You do have iPedal, which is one pedal driving essentially. Yes, of course, you can program the car to be warm in the morning. There's quiet mode. You can click into EV mode if you want to activate your vehicle to load. That can charge other devices, put power back into the grid if you're using solar. There's just, you know, you need to sit down and mess with this screen for about an hour just to get your head around all the different settings. Like, it has recirculation of air when you go into a tunnel if you want. You can even tell it to recircle the air when you spray the washer fluid. I kind of like the smell of that. I like when that comes into the cabin. But Hyundai are giving you the option that you don't have to sniff it if you don't want to. These controls here have little strips around them like LEDs, but also in certain spec versions you can get these to be the mirrors. So there's little cameras on the outside of the car. This one doesn't have that. In fact, I've yet, in all my reviewing of cars, yet to see a car that actually has cameras. There's loads of storage, drinks, then there's further storage down here. You get like a large bottle of Volvic. Actually, you probably get 3 of them underneath there. You can't cover this area up. It's a little bit frustrating if you do want to leave valuables or sunglasses and stuff. You've got to tuck them away somewhere else, and there isn't a sunglasses holder up here either. But there is plenty of thought for storage. Down here there's a drawer that pulls out and you can put stuff into that, so you can kind of tuck things away there carefully. Electric seats in this version of the car. They're heated, they're air cooled, they're everything. So look, it is a computer on wheels. There's loads of tech. If you like tech, you're going to love the Ioniq 6 because there's a lot going on. There's also Charge My Hyundai. It's not something available in Ireland, but the idea is you'll have an account, a subscription, you plug in the car and away it goes, a bit like the Tesla charging model on the superchargers. I know I said at the start of this video I don't want to make it into a, you know, a versus Tesla thing, but Even the steering wheel reminds me of a Model 3, and it handles quite like a Model 3. I will say the Model 3 has the slight edge when you're really pushing on into a corner. It just feels like it has a little bit more grip. But this version, which obviously has all the power, as soon as you accelerate, you're just shoved into your back seat. So there's an outstanding level of performance there. It's really quiet. I love the iPedal. Just works. It goes into corners very well. Like you can push it on. There is definitely an element of performance driving, and that is a thing with EVs. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise, because they're so quick, and when the center of gravity is low enough, like it is in this car, and the steering is very, very responsive and light, and you know, it does have the makings, albeit the noise is missing. Like if this was a 2-litre petrol, you'd be singing its praises all day long. So just because it's an EV, I don't think that's fair to say that you can't enjoy driving it. Now, there is lots of things watching you, not at a China level of watching you, but if you break the speed limit, it will beep and chime to remind you that you're going even 2 kilometers over the speed limit. You can turn it off, but it's a little bit intrusive. Like, it's now stopped because I'm doing 56 as opposed to 62 and 60. But it does kind of ping quite a lot. It's just such a pleasure. It's similar with the drive I did with the ID7. It's a pleasure to be sitting lower down on the ground. I think any sort of car head will appreciate being lower down in a car for loads of reasons. I've reset the trip computer just to give me an idea. It was, when I picked it up, at about 17 litres per 100 kilometres. I'm doing a lot of downhill, so I don't want to judge it just at the moment, but it is doing 9.9 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometres, which is impressive. Now, it is downhill, so just let me balance that out with a bit of uphill now in a couple of seconds, and just some flat driving, and let's see where we go with that. I probably would turn that ping off now that I've thought about it further. It just feels like it's got a bit of 50-50 going on. It's just the weight is nicely balanced throughout the car. I don't want to say you don't feel bumps in it like you do, like most cars, I suppose. You know, there has to be a balance between it handling very well, and it can't be the softest car in the world either. I think they've done an okay job at it. It's all right. Like, I'm on kind of patched together roads here today, and it's still performing and behaving fairly well. Okay, so we're now doing 3.5 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers, which is just insane. I've full climate on, I've everything on. Now look, there's a lot of regen going on. Well, they're probably not huge. I'm on 91% batteries. There's probably not that much regen available, but it's a slippy kind of car. Now you join me on a motorway. Isn't it amazing the way everything just works? I'm at a 100 kilometer an hour speed limit, cruising speed, and it is, what temperature is it? It's 14 degrees outside. So it's a sunny, warm day. It kind of actually feels more than 14 degrees once you're in the sun. Just going by the driving I've been doing today, which some of it has been fairly brisk. You know, when I was pushing on, it was doing about 22, 23 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers. There's still a range of 434 in the range. So it seems like it's fairly accurate. Now, it has to be said, I haven't been doing a huge amount of motorway driving until right now, but at motorway speeds, it's doing 14.3 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers. And that is just very, very impressive. Like, that's very, very efficient. over 1,000 kilometers, which is what's on this car now. It has done 17.6 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers, and I think that's probably a fair estimate. We're still into summertime. Been many different people driving this car. It's going to be used would have been used as a test car, so some people would be, checking out the performance of it as much as anything else. So 17.6, that's kind of worst case scenario, and I think that you'd get that down to 14 with one person driving the car, a bit more carefully, a bit more sensibly, and people who aren't, the type of driving I'll be doing today is not typical of your everyday drive. So that's pretty efficient. One thing I must warn you about is this roof line. It's very, very easy to clonk your head as you're getting out. I've done it a couple of times today. Same goes for the rear, so just beware. So the question is the Hyundai Ioniq 6 worth all the hype? I'm delighted to report I get the sense that it is. Now, this is a long range, all the spec version of the car. I get it. The fact that the car has a heat pump, the fact that it has battery preconditioning so you can charge it faster, particularly at winter time. These are things that Volkswagen just haven't sorted yet and are giving Hyundai the total edge with this new Ioniq 6. So look, I totally get it's a subjective enough looking car, very different, very radical. How will it age? Give me your thoughts and comments below. But I think to hit the ground running right, they've done it with this. Yes, it gets expensive. Yes, it leaves the grant if you go for this particular version of the car. But aerodynamics, efficiency, and the whole package, it's another car from a really well-known brand that now can do everything the others have been able to do. And more competition is better, but it's still starting from late 40s, so we do need electric cars to get cheaper. How that's all going to happen when grants are disappearing, I don't quite know. Listen, thank you for coming with me this far in the video today. If you'd like to support what is a fully independent YouTube channel, this is my full-time job. You can go to buymeacoffee.com/NobbyOnCars. You can tip us €5, €25. You can join up for membership on YouTube from a couple of quid a month. Whatever works for you. I really do appreciate it, and I'll talk to you in the next one.